assistant professor and researcher at University Politehnica Bucharest, working in the Artificial Intelligence and Multi-Agent Systems Laboratory, where I teach subjects related to AI at both graduate and undergraduate level, and where my research interests fall into the broader domain of what is called ambient intelligence. So topics such as context management, activity recognition, social robotics, and last but not least, AI in healthcare. In Alameda, I work mainly in work package free, where my role is sort of like that of a middleman, let's say, that has to deal between the requirements that are coming from the medical side and how they translate into the technical solutions that other partners in the consortium are providing. And in this sense, work package free has to essentially deliver the operational steps that are required to collect data from the patients, and leading to what we call the patient data collection journey. And we do this by employing a method where we actually want to engage the patient in the design of this data collection journey itself and the ensuing feedback, the usability feedback that they will be giving us. And it's worth noting that we do this data collection for both data that is considered medical relevant, as well as for factors that are non-disease related, such as the financial, the social status of the patients, or their general quality of life, their daily living, just to be able to enable a broader picture, right, for and a potential of analysis for all this data. In Alameda, shared decision making actually refers to the way in which the pilot research studies themselves are set up. We follow some principles that have been laid out in a project that had finished just prior to the start of Alameda, a project called Multi-Act. And this project defines guidelines to be followed when you want to increase the engagement of patients and others, not only but also medical stakeholders, in the design, the evaluation, and even the dissemination aspects of the research studies themselves. So in Alameda, this actually translated directly into how the patient data collection journey that I was mentioning previously was set up, was defined. Basically what we did is that early on in the project, we set up a so-called engagement coordination team, or ECT for short, whose job it is to oversee that the interests of all the stakeholders, the major stakeholders in the research studies themselves, are taken into consideration. This involves the patients and the doctors themselves too. This ECT then helped to set up so-called local community groups. So that's groups of people who are representative of all these major stakeholders. So the patients, the doctors, the auxiliary medical staff like physical therapists, and so on. And these groups were then tasked to look at the ways in which, let's say, the different aspects of the data collection process can be customized. And through means of questionnaires and focus groups, we ended up looking at things such as how the different parts of how the conversational agent or the digital companion in Alameda is going to be most likely to be used in the course of the studies. What other more personal, let's say, aspects other than the medically standard ones the patients care about and would like to be captured on a day-to-day basis during the studies, and so on. And now the pilot studies are ongoing, and as we progress towards the first milestones, we want to engage these local community groups again to analyze the feedback that we get from the patients after these first milestones, and see how we can adjust things going forward. In Alameda, we have three pilot studies going on, one for Parkinson's disease, for multiple sclerosis, and for the recovery after a stroke incident. Now, obviously, each of these have, let's say, specific requirements in terms of the content of the collected data, but the process by which we're doing this, all of these studies are, let's say, transversely bound together by the fact that we have the same kind of, the same suite of hardware or wearable devices and software applications on a mobile phone that do the data collection. So basically the same kind of data will be used in predictive analysis for each of these target diseases. Each of these pilot studies has, let's call them 2 modes of operation, one in which we collect data continuously and one where we have some more reduced, limited period, but more intense data collection parts. In the continuous mode, patients are submitting what we call patient-reported outcomes. So basically, their subjective experience of living with the disease by answering to questionnaires, to those relevant questions that we mentioned earlier. And apart from this subjective experience, we also give them a Fitbit smartwatch by which we can collect objective metrics about their physical activity, daily physical activity, and their sleep metrics. And at the 6, 9, and 12-month mark of their pilot studies, each patient undergoes a 1 to 2 week long intense monitoring period where they are asked, apart from what they normally do, to wear an additional setup of devices that involve a bracelet with an accelerometer sensor, force measuring insoles, and a belt with IMU sensors, and even a topper for the mattress to have better recording of sleep metrics. Okay. And they have to use them throughout their daily routine, but also for specific activities that the medical partners care about, like doing a half-hour walk for the PD patients or performing some rehabilitation exercises for the stroke patients. Also, at these milestones, the doctors perform specific clinical tests with the patients. They have them coming to the clinic, and then whatever metrics are recorded there, the scores of the tests that they're performed, become our prediction targets for all of the data that we collect throughout the pilot studies in Alameda. I mentioned previously that my research studies are in activity recognition, which includes things such as detection of activities based on ambient sensors, so those that are placed around the home, or wearable devices. So from a personal perspective, doing the things that we currently do in Alameda has been a sort of a natural transition or extension of this research interests to this more medically oriented domain. On a level of personal experiences, it has been eye-opening for me to see how this sort of interdisciplinary research what it entails at the human level. So I mean, talking with professionals from another domain and seeing first of all finding out what their challenges are, specifically in the Romanian setup, let's say, because I'm more familiar with it, all the way down to learning how to talk to doctors, to find a common language, to understand what their requirements are and how they're working, and what are, let's say, expertise in the domain of AI, how it needs to be communicated to them. At the level of our lab or at the university in general, at UPB, we want to capitalize on all of these experiences that we've gained so far in Alameda for the past 2 years by being able to set up future collaborations in this sense. And we have already seen we are already seeing a start to this, because recently our university has set up a center of excellence in AI, which tries to, let's say, gather together all of the faculties that are in the university, as well as outside collaborators, and propose applied AI research topics or projects. And the University of Medicine and Pharmacology from Bucharest is one of the founding members, and we already have, since the bit of Alameda, we already have 2 other projects which have started on this, let's say, convergence of AI and healthcare. And going forward, we want to see more of these opportunities happening, and also, let's say, opportunities for members in our lab and the university who have this experience in AI to be able to be engaged in consulting opportunities for more focused, marketable ideas that connect AI and healthcare.